Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is John with Rheem Manufacturing, and we are coming to you live today from Fast Water Heater Company in City of Industry, California, right outside of LA. And we're coming to you live today because it is National Heat Pump Water Heater Day. So joining me is Robert Hayworth. Robert is one of our plumber support managers, and he's going to take this opportunity to step you through some of the heat pump water heater technology and these Proterra units, talk a bit about some of the features and benefits, and also the things that you need to know as the plumbing professional who is selling, installing, and servicing these units. So without further ado, take it away, Robert.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me here for this great occasion, which is the hybrid heat pump water heater day. Today, so what we're going to discuss is just a recap of our hybrid water heaters. We have a Generation 5 that we have out in the marketplace, and we just came out with our refresh. So I would like to talk about that, little bells and whistles and benefits and how the system works. Right here behind me is our 40-gallon hybrid builder model. So this is a hybrid heat pump. So what is a hybrid heat pump? So a hybrid heat pump is two units together that creates hot water. So this is a heat pump, like a reverse refrigerator, and this is a traditional electric water heater with the elements. Next to it is going to be our refresh, and we'll go through and talk about that here in a second. But how does a hybrid water heater work? So that's the key question that a lot of homeowners ask, and that's why I like to say it's just like a refrigerator in reverse. So when I talk to the customers, this is what I like to say. The top part from the logo up is a heat pump, or the source of the hot water, and below that is the electric water heater. What happens is, just like on a refrigerator, what it does is a refrigerator makes cold air, freezes, and makes everything inside cold, where a heat pump does just the reverse, takes the heat out of the air and uses that to heat the water for the system. Air goes into the system, passes through the system, reacts with the refrigerant heats up, and it goes up to about 160 degrees. If you see the picture behind me, which I should say on this side, you have coils wrapped around that unit. So that 160 degrees is wrapped completely around that unit that helps heat that water up. Okay, so what does it have? So we have a built-in Wi-Fi system, so the homeowner themselves can actually download the app and have complete control of the system. Not only can they control the temperature and the settings and modes, but also will let them know about alarms, alerts, and all that system, like that. The cool feature I like about this too is that if there's ever any issues with this system, that it actually will work between the two systems. So if the heat pump system ever fails, it actually will revert back into the electric side, and then vice versa. So that's a pretty cool feature. More about this unit is guaranteed for 10 years. So one thing that plumbers ask is that, well, I'm not an HVAC guy, so I'm not sure, if I can work on this. But the cool thing is Rheem designed this to where it's plumber friendly, 10-year warranty. If anything happens with that refrigerant side or the heat pump side, that the whole unit will get replaced. So it's a pretty cool feature. It makes the plumbers happy because all they got to worry about are the plug and plays. Okay. All right. What's new? So this is our refresh. Basically, as you can see, a little bit of color code changing. The control board is black on this one. It changes to a nice little gray. Both of these models are on the marketplace, just so the plumbers out there will know. What's new is that we have tops on the top, where on these units here, it's only hot and cold on the side. So we also left the side taps on this unit here, so we can actually have a combination where if they want to do a retro, quick, easy install, they can utilize the top nipples, and they can use the side nipples, or they can do a combination of both. Makes it a lot easier for that retrofit for the plumbers. Okay. What else is new? Well, I did say this works off of air. Brings in the air, expels the air, takes that heat from the air. So that's a vital part of these systems to work. You got to make sure that you have the proper airflow on these systems. Okay. So on the newer model, we have an 8-inch intake and a 10-inch exhaust. Where on the Gen 5 original is 8 and 8. So you got to make sure that your room size and everything is correct. So your typical room size is going to be 700 cubic feet. If you don't have that 700 cubic feet, what you're going to need to do is make sure you can do some ducting. And right now in installs, it's about 5% of all installs require ducting. So you got to make sure you have that proper air through that system. Okay, 8-inch, 10-inch. Make sure it's hard piping on this. Now on this Gen 5 original, you had to get adapters to make the ducting work. Okay. But on the refresh, we actually included the adapter pins inside the unit. So all you got to do is pull your tabs here, connect your adapter, your 90s, and run your ducting. Makes it quick and easy and simple. Okay? What else is good for this thing? Well, there's different modes in the system. You have your traditional heat pump mode, you have high demand mode, you have energy saving mode, and vacation mode. What's the differences? Well, heat pump only is just a heat pump only. It's about 120 volts of power, and it works great, okay? Why are heat pump important? Okay, that's one thing I like to talk about too. I kind of skipped over that. The government coming across and says we want things more efficient, more energy savings. So heat pump is one of the most efficient sources of heating water on the marketplace. With a UEF of 4.0 plus, it's awesome. Where your traditional is about 0.9395, okay? So what does that mean to you? So the homeowner themselves will save about $600 a year in savings compared to their traditional water heater they have now. With the rebates and tax incentives that are on the marketplace, it makes it an easy sell for the homeowner, and of course to save on the environment and energy cost. Overall, that's pretty much the simple recap of the system. Insulation wise, you just want to make sure that you have flex connectors. You don't want no hard piping. You want to make sure that you insulate everything correctly, because it is a motor in there, a fan motor, and that vibration can cause noise and vibration throughout the system. So make sure you insulate that and protect that correctly when you have your system in place. Okay?
Right on.
So I heard that you have some questions for me from the audience.
Yeah, we sure do. So some folks have sent in some questions, so we're going to talk about those for a minute. So one of the questions is, what would cause the water heater to trip the breaker when it's plugged in and a brand new unit, the electrician has confirmed that the electrical is good?
So there's a variety of things that could happen that will cause a breaker to pop. Dry fire, could be loose wire connection, grounding issue. As a plumber, if they're trained correctly, they should be able to backtrace from the power source throughout the system to find out what is causing the breaker to trip. It could be simple as, like I said, like dry fire, which is an element that when they filled up the tank, they might accidentally forget to empty all the air out, and that could cause a short in the system or something like that. But where the system would just reactivate and trip the breaker every time. So if they take their steps step by step, they can learn which is causing that issue.
Okay, gotcha. We have a couple of questions about thermostatic mixing valve. Okay, so one of them is using a thermostatic mixing valve the best way to improve recovery time on the heat pump? And then also there was someone who was asking about a customer who wants 140 degrees going to the dishwasher, not getting that temperature, and would a mixing valve be the best way to achieve that?
So mixing valves, like especially in California, what they do is they're required to have a mixing valve if they want to raise the temperature up past 120. Like you said, that helps with recovery. So you got a water heater that has 140 degrees. That helps with recovery because that extra temperature with the mixing valve adds about 15 to 20 gallons of water to the system. But you regulate the temperature outside that mixing valve, so you can't get that 140 degrees to a dishwasher because it's regulated at that mixing valve. If they want 140 to that dishwasher, they're going to have to bypass that mixing valve and have 140. But then again, you got to worry about scalding and stuff. That's why we recommend mixing valves if you raise that water heater temperature past 140.
Got it. And then also you were mentioning that using high demand mode is a great way to improve recovery time as well.
Yeah, so if they want the mixing valve to add more efficiency and more recovery, our feature of our high demand, which is going to be the elements and the heat pump kicking on together, that will actually allow the faster recovery. So like if grandparents are home and they have their grandkids come over, they can hit high demand mode, and that will actually recover faster, so that way they don't lose that water loss.
Got it, got it. Let's see here. Will the heat pump water heater need a way to drain condensation?
Yes, so the system does have a condensation just like an AC system. A refrigerator does not, because it is in reverse. It actually evaporates the hot water. But on our system, because it does make cold air going through the system and gets rid of that cold air, it does create condensation just like an air conditioning. So you do have to run a drain line off of that. We recommend not doing a T&P connection or an AC, making sure it's an independent from any other source of drain.
Okay. Let's see here. So one of the questions is about ducting, right? So he says, we've used ducting to transfer airflow between room to room. Is it possible to use the room air but then disperse the cool air to the exterior of the home?
Yeah, we actually recommend to install these units with conditioned air, because that's your average temperature of about 78 to 68 degrees. So that's where this system will actually work the best, even though it will work on colder and warmer areas. So you can duct it either way. You can duct air in, duct air out, so you can actually utilize that ducting to put that air someplace else, either into another room if you have that conditioned air quality, or you can do it in the attic or outside.
Great. Let's see here. What is the average lifespan of a heat pump water heater?
So basically what I like to tell on that is I already talked about how it's a reverse water heater. I mean, a reverse refrigerator.
Yeah.
So how long does your refrigerator last? So average refrigerator is between 15, 20 years. I've seen our generation 1 out there in the marketplace that's working 15, 18 years, and they're working just fine. So traditionally, 15, 20 years, but we do guarantee it for 10 years. So.
Right. And actually, would you mention about servicing the unit within the warranty period and how the fact that it's an enclosed unit, because obviously we know that plumbers aren't necessarily wanting to work on heat pumps.
Yeah, so I would just treat this as a traditional water heater where you go out and do your flush maintenance and stuff. But the only additional thing would be that because we do take air, the units do have a filter. We do have maintenance features on here, so we'll let the homeowner know that it needs maintenance. It's always a good idea to check your filters, 30, 60 days. If you see it dirty, then you check it more often. The cool thing is you just take this out, wash it, dry it off. You don't want it to leak. Dry it off and then put it back in. You're good to go. Just soap and water. And it's pliable, flexible, easy to do.
Sure.
And that makes it maintain. Other than that, if you do your maintenance on it, you just do that feature. If you see any debris or dust or anything inside the unit, you will just have to do your basic, pull the caps off top, clean it all up, put it back together.
Okay.
Basic maintenance.
Yeah. And then as far as for the plumber is concerned, again, servicing the unit within the warranty period, essentially they're just replacing the whole unit, right? They don't have to try and crack into that thing.
No, so like I said, for the 10-year period is, as a plumber, we don't want you to be HVAC techs. I know some HVAC techs are installing these too. They would love to get their hands on there, but it's a closed loop system, so there's no reason to actually work on it. So if the plumber comes out and sees that the evap is leaking oil or something like that, the whole unit gets replaced.
Right, absolutely. So that's all the questions that we have. Honestly, Robert, I mean, with the 4 times efficiency of a standard unit, with the rebates available, this is a very easy sell for plumbers.
Yes, yeah, with the tax credits and everything, it's easy to sell. With NECA 4 in place, which means that the government's actually enforcing the energy savings on water heaters. So a lot of the water heaters on the market today are going to be gone in 4 years. Yeah. So might as well act now with the rebates and incentives that are on the marketplace now. So that way in 4 or 5 years, the customers won't get that sticker shock. So here's your link size and stuff like that. The PDF and all this will be available, so you can actually have access to this. I believe this is also going to be on the app. So if you go in the app and you want to know about ducting and stuff, the app will actually tell you about that as well. All right, but that's, so like on 5-inch, if you want to go off of that 10 straight to 5, you can only go 17 feet. Now, if you're going to run ducting in the attic, you got to treat it like plumbing, guys. Right? You can't have hills and valleys in plumbing, right? So when you do ducting in your attics and stuff, make sure that ducting is straight as possible. Because for every up and down bend that you get in there, you have restriction. And that restriction creates a back pressure on the system, which will cause problems. So you want as straight as possible, as clean as possible, without any restrictions. If you got a full thing of ducting, don't compress that ducting and then hook it up because you have 5 feet. I don't want to cut 5 feet. Cut it. You want that to be a pure 5-foot piece of, instead of 10 foot, you want it to be 5 foot. Okay, if you're doing that flex. Okay. Any questions on ducting? Okay. There's just more stuff you can do. Picture of how you can flex this system here out through a wall. You can reduce it right away out of the wall. I recommend it because the cost on those materials going through a wall, if you keep it at 10 inch, you're going to pay a pretty penny, but you can reduce it to that 5 inch right at the wall. Save some money. Condensation, I already told you about. Just make sure you take care of it. There are leak sensors in there. So just like on the AC system, if that pan inside fills up with water, it has a leak detector in there, and it will throw a code and shut the system down. Okay? The cool thing about this system is that if there's ever any issues with the heat pump side, you can switch it to the electrical side. So you can go on the phone, tell your customer, Mrs. Jones, switch it to electric only until we get out there. So that way you have hot water, and we can fix the issue what's happening with the heat pump. Or vice versa. Turn off the electric and turn on the heat pump. You can actually do both sides. So you have that, the customer has that, or you guys have that ability to switch it in between the modes. Okay. PVC, CPVC is recommended. 2 gallons per day. It's not a lot of water, right? But somebody's on vacation for 2 weeks and the AC system shuts down, you have it tied into AC. 2 gallons a day can cause a lot of damage to the house. Okay. How are we doing on time? Doing good? All right. Once again, noise. Just be familiar with your areas. okay, where you're placing it. Make sure, you have your isolation stuff in there. I had a plumber get a call in the middle of the night because the guy's trophies on the back wall in his man cave fell off because of vibration. So it can happen, okay? We can have isolation kits as well, so there's also those you can also purchase. Once again, flex. I know you're all looking at that saying, shark bites? Shark bites? Do whatever you want to do. This is just for demonstration purposes. All right? All right. How do you get it from point A to point B? What's the proper way? So, especially if you're going to be going down a country road, you want to make sure that the vibration is eliminated, right? We recommend that you transport these bad boys straight up. That's not going to be possible all the time, right? So if you have to lay them down, there's only one way to lay them down to make sure that there's no issues with the system. Once you get the box, and we do have the box outside so you can look at the box, on all three sides there's going to be a thing that says hybrid. There's one side that doesn't have anything on it. That one side has to be faced up into the ceiling. Okay? And the whole purpose of that is there's a, remember, compressor in here, right? Have any of you picked up a compressor before? Is it light? Is it heavy? It's heavy. So what happens is if that compressor's laying down on its side and you don't have it in the right position, it's going to vibrate and move. So what could happen is that could go out of position, rub up against some metal, rub up some pipe, and cause a little humming noise or vibration inside the system before you guys even do anything. So if you place it the right way, there's protection inside to keep that in check. When you put it in your trucks, put some blankets underneath there or something, or towel, foam, strap it down, especially if you know you're going to go up in the mountains or something or on bouncy roads. Just protect it as much as possible. Okay? Now another question that always gets asked is, well, you can't lay a refrigerator down. If you do, how long does it take for that refrigerator to recover? This bad boy right here can recover within the hour. All right, we design it a certain way so that way the fluids don't get lost all the way, and once you stand it up, within an hour's time. Okay, so basically once you pull it out of the truck, get going, you're pretty much going to be ready to go. Okay, but give it that little bit of time before you turn it on. You just can't slap it in there, fill it up, and turn it on. You got to give it a little bit of time to recover. Okay, any questions on transporting? Okay, that right there will save a lot of issues out in the field. Okay. All right, we already talked about that. Sorry I skipped through it all the time. Recirc. You can add recirc on here. If Mrs. Jones out in the field wants to have recirc 100% on all the time, this system is not for her. Okay? Because the recovery factor is just not there. It's designed to operate with an on-demand pump system and a sensor with temperature up to 102 degrees. Okay? So that way it has it in check, comes on once in a while, not all the time. Okay? So it can have recirc. Okay? What else can it do? Well, what other kind of recirc? There it is, 102. I was right. I thought, okay, did I say it right? I said it right. 102. All right, I'm not that old after all. Crossover tees. Let's see. Come on. All this. So there's a PDF out there that we can provide you, especially out in the plumbing world, that we can provide you a PDF that shows you step by step how to do recirc. And it's also in the app. Okay? So just so you guys know that's available, we can give that to you if you need to. Why is not my crossover tee in here? Okay, so somebody asked me if they can do a crossover tee. So they did a crossover tee one time. It just has to be a timer-based system. And once again, remember on your controller, you can do an app and schedule it. So if you do a crossover pump system, you can actually do that on a timer base. Okay, Title 24 here in California, they want on demand. But out in the marketplace, plumbers have put them on with a crossover tee as long as the pump is scheduled with the app.
Can we put like a comfort series bypass system on there?
Yeah. So you have to utilize the clock. So right, and so if your clock's going to be from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. on your app, 5 a.m. and that's in high demand mode. You want high demand mode functionality on that type of install. Okay? Any questions? All right. This is just a quick preview of the leak detection. There are kits that are available. The only thing that they suggest to tell you is that on this system here, the leak guard on top is up here, has a cable that runs down and plugs into the base. Or you can not use that cord and then tie your cord down there and then have the connection there. It's just basically, it comes with the kit when you order it. The cable is loose, so you can secure it, strap it the best way you can, just so you guys know. Easy install, just plug and play. Accessories, all available. Okay, multiple different things you can order. User interface. How much time we got? We're good on time? Simple, easy user interface. Okay, so enabled is pretty simple. On, off. On, off. Quick and easy, okay? Temperature, up and down. Up and down, quick and easy. You can also do all that with your app. On, off, up and down, okay? Mode settings, just hit your modes. There's multiple modes on here, and we'll go through that real quick. Just hit mode, and these are the modes that you have. You have energy saving mode, it's a default, so if you don't want to touch it, you just plug it in, fill it up, get the water out, air out, turn it on, it's automatically energy saving. If you have a bigger unit, 40 gallons would be okay, you can do that with, but a bigger unit, 50, 65, 80, it is recommended that you guys switch it to high demand mode as soon as you get all the air out. Okay? Anybody want to tell me why? Why would that be a good thing to do? Because energy saving mode, it switches to heat pump only. 80 gallons of water, especially in the wintertime here, it's going to take a long time to recover, right? Right. So as soon as you're done doing that, switch it to high demand mode. That 80 gallons is going to switch on the elements and the heat pump and heat up faster. So you still got to clean up. You still got to do the invoice, right? So you got about 15, 20, 30 minutes right there. That extra little bit is going to get a boost to that system and let that customer not call you. Because I've had plumbers call me and say, hey, we installed this 3-4 hours ago and the customer doesn't have hot water. Well, what'd you put in? An 80-gallon unit. How'd you put it in? We just hooked it up and go. Well, what's the water dial there? It's pretty cool today. It's going to take a long time. Switch it to high demand, got that double heating source, boom. Usually they say, my son did that for me on a test. I said, hey, switch it to high demand, tell me how fast it takes to heat. So you guys know, you guys have been plumbers for a while, a 50-gallon water heater takes what, 45 minutes, an hour on normal? Even on gas sometimes less. So electric water heater, 50-gallon, an hour. My son hit high demand on a heat pump, 50-gallon, 25 minutes. 50 gallons in 25 minutes. So high demand works even better than traditional water heaters. Okay? That's what high demand is. Both the heat pump and the elements kicking in. Heat pump only, once again, remember I told you my son has that for the whole year on heat pump only, never ran out of hot water. Okay? That's what heat pump is. Electric only, once again, if they wanted to switch it for some reason, you can just have electric only in there. Okay? Vacation. It does not shut off. Okay? One call I got from a plumber, hey, my customer just called me saying he's in Europe and he's getting reports on his phone that says the unit's not turning off, but he's gone for a month. It maintains a temperature of 65 degrees. It does not shut off. Anybody here want to tell me why it maintains a temperature of 65 degrees? Nope. Anybody know what Legionnaire's disease is? You guys not know what Legionnaire's disease is? So Legionnaire's disease is a bacteria growth in water from being in storage. Why is it called Legionnaire's? You guys want to hear the story real quick? All right, real quick, guys. Back in the day in New York, there's a big convention, Legionnaires. You know who those guys are, right? Legionnaires? Legionnaires? So they had a big convention. This hotel had half the hotel shut down. So their storage units were dormant for 6 to 8 months. Big old thing, turned on the units, didn't flush them out. Multiple Legionnaires, army guys, whoever you want to call them, died because of that bacteria. So that's why it's called Legionnaire's disease, because of that. So this helps maintain that temperature so that bacteria doesn't grow in the system. So let your customers know vacation means it's going to maintain for your safety. Good? All right. See, Rheem cares. Rheem cares. Settings, this is just quick and easy. I just go through it real fast. It's real simple and easy to hit your system. This whole setup here is in your app, guys. If you want to learn how to do settings and modes and all that, it's in the app. Quick and simple, bump, 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 and it will tell you step by step how to do your mode settings, okay? Quick and simple and easy. So basically, you can go through your system, hit mode, display, temperature settings, next, keep on going, current alarms, next. What else are you going to do? Alarm history. Why is that important? Why is alarm history important on these devices?
See what the last call was or something like that.
That too, plus what causes major issues. So you have two codes. You got T codes and A codes, right? I like to say it's T codes like temporary code, A code is a fault. So you can have a couple of T codes before a fault. Because this system is smart, it will actually readjust itself and turn back on, turn back off before it actually shuts down to make sure something wasn't a glitch. So when you go into a job and you see an A105, always check the history, okay? Because the plumber one time did that and it said, oh, it's just a fan. Replaced the fan, 3 days later, guess what happened? Went bad again. So you got to make sure you check the history because a sensor went bad, which caused the fan to go bad, right? So check the history, make sure something else didn't cause the main thing. So go through your history, check it, and make sure that you replace multiple things to fix the whole issue instead of just one thing. Tech support should tell you that, okay? But just so you guys know, and when you're done with the job and you put the new fan and new sensor in, what do you guys do? Clear the history. That way your buddy John doesn't come back and say, holy crap, there's 14 things wrong. Okay? Timmy was just here. Okay? All right. Another thing is, oh, there it is, see? I'm ahead of the game. Clear history. All right? That's your Wi-Fi. Next, network assistance. This is all for your EcoNet stuff. Okay? Once again, it's beyond me, so I have to read the book again. SOV. Anybody want to tell me what SOV is? Nope. It's a shut-off valve. Okay? That's important because if you put a shut-off valve on, it doesn't come with it, you got to make sure you turn it on. A lot of plumbers have put shut-off valves later on and forgot to hit that. It's not working. Okay? Cool thing and feature about our shut-off valve actually maintains itself. So I think it's 2 days or 3 days, it actually turns on, turns off to keep that valve. How many times have you gone out to a job and, oh man, I can't shut the water heater off? The shut-off valve is not your main valve, guys. So you guys do an install and it has a shut-off valve, still replace the valve up here if it needs to be replaced. Because this is your main valve up here. This is just an emergency valve to stop this from leaking. Okay? Error codes, we're just going to jump through this. How much time we got left? 7 minutes? 20. We got time. Okay, good. Good time for questions and stuff. I love it. You guys hearing me okay? Your ears don't hurt yet? Okay. Test mode. How cool is this? You can go in test mode and find out how everything works without having to pull out the multimeter and stuff. You want to see how the bottom element's working. You can go into test mode, switch it to bottom element. It will kick on and tell you the amps and draws and all that stuff. Compressor, kick on the compressor, see the power source, draws, all that stuff. Fan, kick on the fan, turn on the fan, see if it's working. Okay? So the thing is by test, so if you go out to a call and say there's a fan bad, could it always be the fan if the controller says it's a fan? Not necessarily, right? I always recommend doing that test setting. Make sure, because what if you do a test setting and then all of a sudden the fan kicks on? So there's something else causing the fan not to work, so you got to figure out what's causing it. A lot of times it could be the control board, or it could be a disconnect inside, and I'll talk about that in a second, okay? But yeah, you can go through the whole system and test all the products and see what you got, your temperatures, your adjustments. It's just awesome. I love it, okay? But when you call tech support, they're going to want to verify that the fan's bad. So yeah, even though this says it's good, you still might have to verify 100% that's bad, okay? That's just the way it is. This is just your menu structure. All this is in your app. You get this whole detail in your app too. So if you go through there, it would tell you step by step how to do everything. So I know because only 2% are going to remember all this stuff right now anyways. The rest of it's just going to go one out ear until the donuts are in the belly. That's when everything is forgotten. But that's how it is. So just pretty cool how you can go through and check everything out. Like I said, that's a whole new class in itself, and that's available through Rheem too. Here's your modes. So these are your sensors. You actually have 6 air temperature sensors. All the sensors are the same exact thing, but what they do is they test the ambient air, the refrigerant air. So it all tests all the different stuff inside the system to make sure that it all works. And how you test it is pretty common. You got to make sure the temperature regulation is there. So when you do your testing, you got to use this chart. Once again, the chart's going to be where? On the app. All right, there you go. Or in the use and carry manual. You guys keep your use and carry manuals, or you guys still use them for D-pads? Yeah, so that's what I thought. All right. But the most important thing is when you do a test on a sensor, so you guys know out in the field real quick and simple, is this one right here. Okay? If you get that reading when you do a test right away, that sensor is bad. That's the fastest way to find out. You don't have to worry about the temperature and all that stuff. If you get a reading like that, pretty much going to guarantee that that sensor is bad. Okay? But if it doesn't show that sensor, then you got to make sure your temperature regulations are there. You got to test the temperature. So it's a little complex, but it's not too bad. Okay? Once again, that's a whole class right there in itself. This is a breakdown. This is what the sensors look like. Okay? Location. All right. You said I got 20 minutes? All right. I took the obligation of taking all the screws out of this already. All right. So the first thing I tell my plumbers when I train them is check your wiring. Okay? Most of the time, especially in transit, because you got from point A, point B, point C, point to the customer, there's a lot of movement and vibration going on. If for some reason there's a wire that wasn't connected properly, there's a chance it can pop off. Always check your wires before you do anything, guys. All right? Simple and easy. Take this bad boy right here. See? Fingers. No fingernails. All right? I'm a plumber. No fingernails. All you do is take 2 screws out. I just did this for show, just to show how easy it is. And just so you guys know, I took the wires out already. So when I open this up, it's going to be a mess, but I pulled the wires out already, just so for time constraints, because it takes a few minutes to take all that out. First thing you do is you just pull this out. When you pull it out, it's going to drop a little bit. It's not going to come completely out because all the wires are connected. This one is not connected because I took the wires out already. Okay? So normally it's going to drop like this and the wires are going to be connected. Cool thing is the wires only go one place. Every one of you out there in the world and here in the classroom, always take a picture, please. Sorry, I'll pick those up. Everything's marked. But it's a whole lot easier if you took a picture. Because all you got to do is go like this, hold your phone up here, blue, red, green. It makes it a lot easier. Do that on all the products. Take your pictures. Before you take anything apart, take the picture. Okay? So this is what you guys will do when you want to take the controller out. Okay? But you check all the wiring to this to make sure it's all in there solid. That's the first thing I always tell the guys to do. Now there's another set of wires I want you to check too, because there has been issues out in the field. And it's on this bad boy right here. Okay? What is this right here, guys? What does a capacitor do?
Helps jumpstart the motor.
Jump starts the motor, so it's basically a battery. How do you test it?
You put a voltmeter on it.
Right, you don't do a 9-volt test.
No.
You all know what a 9-volt test is? Okay, if you do a 9-volt test on this bad boy, you might not wake up. Okay? Or you're going to have a bad hair day. All right? Always check the connectors here. This is another issue. Sometimes one of these wires could be loose or taken apart, and it will cause an error code in here. I had a plumber go through tech support and try to figure it out. 7 hours it took him to figure out it was just one wire off. Took me how long to pull this apart and look inside? 30 seconds? So 30 seconds, if he would have been trained to check the wires real quick, problem solved, saved him 7 hours. Right? So always double check that right there. Okay? Easy peasy. I'll pass that around so you guys can look at it. Took out my screws. I always had a few screws loose, they said. See, I even lost one already. There you go. Gray floor, gray screws, one eye. Sorry. All right, so what you do is take the filter out. This is a brand new one. I'm not going to take this one apart. Take your screwdriver, tap it. the whole system comes off, right? There's going to be about 5 screws on top, 4 screws on the side, 4 screws on the side. If you have a, unfortunately, if you have a condensation drain, you have to take it apart. Pull your condensation drain out. On this one, you shouldn't have to, but I always do if it's going to be in the way. All right, give me a hand, guys. I haven't sweat in 2 years. All right. So for you guys out here and for you guys out in the field, you have to do this to take the fan out. Okay? The only reason I want to open this up so after the training you guys can come up here and look at it and find the locations of all your connections. So all these connectors here are going to be your thermistors. Plug and play. So you just pull it apart, put the new ones in. Okay? One thing I want to stress on that is when you do that, you're going to have to take it away from the insulation, okay? You want to make sure that insulation is covered in it or add more insulation. What I recommend is you can actually take some more of this, cut a small piece off, and put it around where the thing is, where the sensor is, to help protect it. That sensor has to sense that temperature of that pipe, okay? Do not use tape. Zip ties only. Tape inside might melt or come apart and get into the system. So when you change out the sensor, make sure it's protected and covered when you change them out. There's only one sensor that can be exposed, and that is that bad boy right there. And that is the, anybody want to tell me? Ambient, okay? The only other additional thing I want to show you is this bad boy right here. If this backs up, because you get the slime and grime, you know how AC systems can do that, right? This system might get wet. You got to make sure this is dry, guys. If you go in there and suck it out and unclog it, it still might throw a code because this is still wet. So you might have to do this to, but you can get this from the top. And just dry it off real good with a piece of paper towel and then put it back in. Okay? So overall, that's pretty much it. There's classes out there where you guys can go in-depth training and stuff, technical training and stuff. So if you guys need to get a hold of Rheem, you can do that. I appreciate you guys here. Any questions before I go? No questions. Any questions on the audience? Quiet audience out there today, too. So, Title 24 here in California requires a mixing valve, and the mixing valve is because of the utilities. So what the utilities are going to do, the utilities are going to want to boost that temperature up to 140 degrees, and with that 140 degrees, you need a mixing valve. Okay? This can be adjusted to 140 degrees. As a plumber, I never do. I'll let the customer do it. Right, the liability.
I noticed if you unlock it, it goes up to 150. Can you do that? But on the app, it only shows up to 140.
140. Yeah. Anything above 120 is grounds for a mixing valve. So if it can go up to 150, average is 140. That's why the use and carry manual says 140. So, any other questions other than that?
To access all the sensors, you recommend taking all that, or just working?
No, so this only has to come off basically for the fan. Everything else can be accessed from the top. Maintenance, if you do a yearly maintenance, if you come inside here and see a lot of dust, if you look here, as you can see, this is my tear down I carry in the back of my truck. You might be able to get it from on top, but you might have to take it apart and clean it. If they forget to do the filter, even with the alarm codes and all that, sometimes you got to take it apart to clean the evap coils. Hose it, water it. If you do that, then of course you got to make sure it's dry. Make sure you turn off the leak sensor, or you're going to get codes. But yeah, usually not 90% of everything's going to be on top. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay. Well, I think that's about it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Happy National Heat Pump Water Heater Day, and we will see you next time.